Hi, I'm Carol Hillestad with the Brodhead Watershed Association. We're going to take a hike today at Mount Wismer Nature Preserve in Barrett Township, right off of Route 447 at the top of the hill. With me is Patti O'Keefe. Patti is a science teacher, retired science teacher, and also a supervisor in Barrett Township. She's also one of my favorite people to walk in the woods with.
Well, I'm glad to be here today. It's a beautiful day, a little chilly, but I think we'll have a wonderful time.
So let's get going. We're just stopping along the trail to have a look around. Sometimes the prettiest things are behind you. But at this moment, what we're seeing is a hillside that's covered with lots and lots of glacial till that sweeps down from here down into the valley. And along the way, we're seeing some really beautiful and very typical native plants of Pennsylvania, like this little tiny rhododendron, and bigger ones back there. A beautiful baby hemlock. And one of the things Patti and I was just talking about was too often in the Poconos right now we're seeing that hemlocks have a bug. It's called
Woolly adelgid.
The woolly adelgid, and it kills hemlocks. Not just little ones, but a great big one like that could be killed in just a few years. For whatever reason, it seems to be abating. It's retreating a little bit, so we're hopeful that all of these little baby hemlocks will have a chance to grow big.
Pointy.
Yeah.
So it's black, not a bear.
It's big though. I mean, it's messy, but it's...
Yeah. Usually bears are more rounded.
Yeah.
I don't see
I don't see any berries.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of
Debris.
seeds, but
Right.
it's hard to tell because it's so black.
Yeah. Scat unidentified.
Yeah. Water is groundwater that's coming off the hillside, not rainwater. So all of this water that we see on the trail is the groundwater that's come off the hillside, and the water in our streams in Pennsylvania are fed by groundwater, not just by rainwater. So it hasn't rained heavily in a while, and yet this water is still seeping down and into the groundwater to feed your well so that you have drinking water. It's not supplied by the rain.
When it doesn't rain, the creeks still run.
Yeah.
And the creeks still run because the earth is this great sponge accepting all of that rain and snow melt and holding it, allowing it to seep into creeks and streams.
Maybe we should point out that if all the trees are cut, then the water's not going to seep into the ground. It's going to run off and you're going to have flooding. So every time an area is clear cut, you increase the chance that you're going to have floods. This water is coming out very slowly, replenishing the groundwater. But if it was lawn instead of trees, we'd be in trouble.
Yes.
It's probably good enough. You don't expect much when you have 3 babies in the picture. Perfect.
3.5.
Yeah.
3 and 1/10. Or 2 nights.
Can you say hi?
2 nights.
Hi, are you having fun outside?
Yeah, we love it outdoors.
Better. What we're looking at here is the top, the flat part of a cliff. These rocks, millions of years old, are splitting open. And down below, you can see that many of them have broken away completely from the hillside and have tumbled down, where you can climb over them just like a boulder field anywhere. Along this edge of the cliff, you can see more rocks that are going to split away eventually and fall below. Many of the rocks you see along this cliff face are covered with a very fleshy lichen, which for indigenous peoples was a starvation food. I've never eaten it. I'm told it is barely palatable, but people would boil it and it would flush up and be more like almost like a mushroom that people could use to survive during very difficult winters, because it's there year round. Amazing place.
Okay, so this is called Reindeer Lichen, and they call it that because up in the tundra, this is what the reindeer would eat. This is their food, because in the tundra it's too cold for trees to grow, and so you have this lichen. And one of the cool things about lichen is that it only grows where the air is pure. So you're not going to find any lichen growing in Central Park because the air is not that good. But up here, you'll see it, and then you'll also see on the trees another type of lichen. All those green splotches that you see on trees, they're all different types of lichen.
As Patti said, some people call it reindeer moss. Mm-hmm. It's not moss at all. It's a lichen. But it's also very slow growing. So we see large patches of it, but as in the tundra, there it's just miles and miles mm-hmm. of it, because even though it's very slow growing, there's enough of it to keep the caribou fed.
It looks like it's just coming right out of the roots of the tree. But I've been up here in August and there's still water flowing out. Yes. That's been captured on this hillside. And over at Pasol Farm, which is another preserve we have, there was a farmstead, and people actually would take a spring like this and capture it in stone or whatever, and that's where they would keep all the stuff they wanted to keep cold, because the water here is at 55 degrees year round. Exactly. And so
that's where you put the milk.
That's where you put the milk and the cheese and the meat sometimes to keep it a few days longer. And our refrigerators are only 40 degrees, so it's pretty efficient. Yeah. And it's just water out of the hillside.
One of the great reasons for protecting property like the Mount Wismer Preserve and the Grayville Preserve is that protecting land with forests protects the water. As Patti was saying, if there aren't any trees or vegetation, the water just scours away. It doesn't have a chance to seep into the ground. And nature knows how to do things way better than we do. And when the water seeps into the ground, it's clarified, purified, pollutants are removed, mm-hmm. and it becomes pure water. If you cut a tree down, it starts to return that carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And carbon dioxide, as we should all know by now, is one of the principal greenhouse gases that is contributing to the warming of our home. We talk about wanting to save planet Earth. It's about saving planet Earth for human beings, to keep the Earth safe for us and for all of the other creatures of the world. We need to make sure that we keep our trees. This is our goal today, is to get to the top of Mount Wismer. And all of the water that falls here all of the snow that piles up here, all of this feeds into the Brodhead Creek, which ends up right down there in the Delaware Water Gap as part of the Delaware River. All of this land, this is what a watershed is. It's this huge bowl where all of the water slides down. And if you look at this when you come up here, and I really hope you will, when you look at this scene, you'll see trees everywhere.
And if you come in the spring, everything will be bright green. If you come in the autumn, you're going to get a view of amazing fall foliage. And hopefully those trees will continue protecting our water.
So even if you spend a lot of time driving on 115 or 209, 611, any of those places where it just seems like, wow, it's just all buildings. It's not just all buildings. It's mostly this. And if we can keep it mostly this, we'll continue to have pure water and tourists coming to visit us, because not very many places in the world left have this kind of beautiful forested land, protecting us, protecting wildlife. We've been seeing evidence of coyotes and deer and all kinds of game birds here today, protecting all the life on Earth. Well, we're just about back at the trailhead, and it's been a great day.
It has been beautiful, yes.
I would like to encourage you to come out to Mount Wismer and have a walk around and get to that viewpoint and see it for yourself. Or if not, just get out somewhere outdoors when the leaves are off the trees and you can see the bones and the hills, the shape of the land. It's a great time to be outdoors. Thank you for coming along, and we hope to see you next time.